Hello, hello, hello. Look at this. I got a microphone this time, you guys, and there's not construction happening. So we have 2 wins right now. We're really excited, right, Jonathan?
Yeah, about what?
About being live. So we're going to start off. This is just a Q&A. This is an opportunity for you guys. I don't have any agenda for these. I will explain a little bit just before we start, because I know for a lot of you that might be watching a replay, it can be boring listening to a lot of other people's questions. So we will do a little kind of chat at the beginning, what's going on in our lives, update, what is Gather Around Homeschool, the whole shebang, and then we'll get into it. I will let you guys know that we do have a giveaway going on right now, where basically every time you share or talk about Gather Round, you are entered to win a free digital unit. So to do that, you can share this video, you can share any of our units, anything that I post or promote, and then you go to our group, which is Gather Round Homeschool Community, and there is a post there that you can say shared, and you are automatically entered. Yay! So really excited to see you guys. Pardon?
Turn the heat off. It's the fan.
I'm cold.
Get up.
Okay, there, the heat is off, and now I'm gonna freeze. You got this like winter thing, and I'm like dressed for summer. Okay, so my name is Rebecca. I'm a homeschool mom of 5 young children who was homeschooled myself, and I just did my first podcast episode in almost a month. So embarrassing. It's like the 18th to the 28th. That's really bad. But it's a gooder. It's one of those really solid, like, it's a really good episode. I went back and I had found my old report cards and assessments from when I was a child, my old writing samples, and I shared it all for you guys. So you could see the whole thing from beginning to end. And I talk about how I think our view of education is broken. And why are you laughing?
I saw it. I can't believe you posted one of your report cards. I don't know if I could do that. Absolutely.
Did anyone see my report cards? Okay, I think I didn't even notice. What is Siri's talking to us? No, go away, Siri. Go. Anyways, I got like a 47 in computers.
Out of what?
Like, that was my percentage.
47%? Oh.
Okay, but I am like way better than you with computers.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. I am fast. I code. I type
high
fast.
Marks in computer
programming.
Well,
this is the whole thing. That's what the whole thing is about, is that my marks aren't a reflection on me at all. I had bad marks in writing. I'm a writer. Okay. So basically I show you all of that. I read you all of that. I read you people's assessments of me growing up. And then at the end of that, I say, that means nothing. That means nothing. So it's a really, really good episode, you guys, and you can go and see all those pictures. You actually can see my writing, and I think that it will encourage you. So anyways, go and listen to that.
I will be posting my report cards, at least in my elementary years. There
is my handsome hubby. His name is Jonathan, and he was not homeschooled growing up. He went to public school growing up.
All the way.
Yeah. And we were just talking about it the other day, you guys. We were just talking about the benefits and just the differences of our growing up. My difference being that I never really worried about things. I was in a safe environment to grow and develop at my own pace, to be interested in what I was interested in, never worrying about what I looked like or what other people might think. There was no peer pressure. I was safe to have a bad attitude. I was safe to not be good at something or to excel at something. And it was just very different from yours.
Actually, Malachi yesterday set me down when I was having breakfast, and he was like, "Dad, why do we not go to school?" And I'm like, "There's just so much to tell, but how do you sum it up? Just homeschooling is better. It's better. It's better. It's a better education. It's a better life."
Based on our experience of 4 children. Let's just throw that little disclaimer in there.
Based on what?
Well, we're not saying like for absolutely everyone in the entire world, homeschooling is better. And if you're not homeschooling, that you're
less. No. I mean, yeah, it depends on where you are and what access do you have.
And what God's called you to.
But to me, in my perspective, in my subjective view, yes. My school years were great, but I had mixed emotions about things. The social people like, oh, socialization. but yeah, a lot of my mental, what do you say? A lot of my time was wrapped up in what you wore. You always notice the kids that had money. You always notice kids that the parents were involved. My parents were split up when I was, once when I was young, and then finally divorced when I was 9 or 10. And they were not, and my mom was going to school, supporting us. She couldn't be involved in extracurricular activities. Couldn't afford stuff. You noticed. And you noticed, the kids that had like nice Nike Air Jordan shoes. That was the thing back then. You noticed the kids that had like access to jobs, had access, they had access to, they were at the football, they were all this stuff. And I didn't have that. And so you noticed. And, I don't want to be a pity party type of thing, but you just tended towards not doing those things because you just didn't have the money, and when you had like those parent teacher things.
Yeah.
My parents were, my father was not involved, and my mom was just too busy. Like, I don't know. I'm like, where's your mom? I'm like,
quite frankly, I feel like if our kids went to school, it would be a similar experience, and not because we are parents that aren't present, but because if my kids came home with a bunch of homework, no. I'm not helping them with it. You figure out your own homework. No one's dictating to me what our evenings are going to look like. That's not happening. I would be that mom where the kids are like, you're supposed to bring cupcakes to school tomorrow for our class party. Yeah, it's not going to work for me. So basically for our family, homeschooling is better. Yeah. Meanwhile, my daughter came up to me. This was actually, I think this was the same day. We had just this talk of education in our home. I was in bed and I was working and just, starting to get some stuff going. We had orders going on, and my daughter came up and she said, why don't you just put us in school then? And turn around and walk downstairs. I'm like, whoa, get back up here right now. I'm like, do you just try to like pick the most hurtful thing that you could? Anyways, later she came up and she was crying and she was emotional and she's like, Mom, like, I'm sorry I said that. And so I talked to her about what it is to be passive aggressive. Boom, school right there. And I thought that it was because she wanted to do school and she was just annoyed that I had not started with her yet. Which, hey, that's a pro for Gather on Homeschool right there. But actually, it turns out that she was trying to do school with her 6-year-old sister and was concerned because she is going into grade 2 next year and still doesn't know all her letters and sounds and is behind. And she was worried that it was because we weren't doing enough school. And so again, I had this conversation with her of it's her development and she loves school and we don't want to push it until. So we had this great discussion. Our kids are curious. They're super curious.
Yeah. And with my son, we talked about bullying. I was bullied off and on here and there in elementary school. I grew up in a small town, so you saw the same kids, and so you got to know, the same kids, and there was like a hierarchy that was sort of set in, and there was some bullying, but when I went to junior high school, bigger city, lots more kids. Oh man, there was racism. Like I was scared and angry, and it was bad. I didn't have one person. I had a lot of friends. We were the same group from K to grade 7 in elementary school. Same, friends. But when junior high, didn't know anybody, and I felt really. I actually prayed for friends, and I had this one friend, and he was a good friend. And junior high was hard. It got better. You sort of gravitate towards some friends and Christian friends, but it was bad. High school got better, of course, because everybody, but man, oh man. And I don't want that for my kids. I got so bad that I was so scared. I started carrying a small knife because I was worried that I was going to get jumped. Yeah, it was bad. I was threatened. I was physically assaulted. I had to defend myself. Luckily, it didn't amount to much. I mean, I say I bring a knife to school, but it was just I didn't use it. I didn't even show it, whatever. But it was like, oh, I have a little pocket knife. I should probably bring this because I don't know if I'm going to be stuck at lunch hour, whatever. There was these a couple kids I remember that they were just horrible. They called me all kinds of racist names and Jap and Korean. They didn't know my background, and they were disgusting. And every time anyway, that's my bully experience. And I have lots of stories with that. And I'm sure a lot of people will sympathize, but I don't want for that, my kids. And to me, I grew out of it. It was a brief stint in my life, but man, oh man, I don't want that for my kids. But it's not just about protection for homeschooling. I think with this whole COVID-19 thing, a lot of people are like, they're, having their kids at home, and they're like, I think there's a big, huge opening. Like, hey, I like this. Hey, I think this is important. I think I never thought about this before. There's a lot of Christians and non-Christians saying, this is good. This is not bad. I'm sure some people are like, but there are so many more resources there before. What?
Nothing.
What?
What else would you like to talk about, Jonathan?
I'm sorry, am I taking over? Let's do the comments.
Okay, let's answer some questions. Somebody asked if I'm still using All About Reading. A lot of you don't know, because I used to review curriculum, and a lot of you are looking at YouTube and whatever else and all this stuff, and I get a lot of questions still. Are you still using this? Are you still using that? No, I'm not using any of it. I don't use anything other than Gather Around Homeschool. Right now we're using teaching textbooks for math, and we are using Principles of Mathematics for our middle schooler. That's it. That is all we use. So I basically created a curriculum called Gather Around Homeschool, and it is all your subjects for all your kids, for all your grades. And that is all that we pretty much do as a family. And it has changed our homeschool completely. And there are free samples on my site. You can go to gatheraroundhomeschool.com and click on a couple of weeks and try it out.
This one here. It's interesting.
Are you going to read it?
No, it's fine. Some interesting comments. I have to filter because I don't have a filter.
I'm his filter. I help filter my husband. He loves it, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Lisa, I saw you had asked us before as well, how we're going to be approaching history. So a couple of different ways. There is the chronological and there's topical. What is the difference between those? The difference is my entire philosophy of education is basically we tell our kids what they need to learn and when they need to learn it and how they need to learn it. But actually, they really don't need most information we cram in their brain. They need a strong foundation in communication, how to communicate in a written format, but also orally communicate. And they need to have a foundation in their math. But aside from those things, they really, a lot of those topical things, it just doesn't matter. It's more about learning how to learn. And so because of that, and because specifically, if you listen to my podcast or look at any of those things, I did not do well in history. And the reason was it was dry, boring facts. And I was all of a sudden told that I had to memorize this and regurgitate this. And it was just boring to me. Instead, what I love right now in Gather Around Homeschool is we go and we learn about, you guys are going to find this in South America, Fordlandia. Okay, did you know that somewhere in Brazil, in the Amazon rainforest, Henry Ford, he wanted to have basically a monopoly and control his own market. No, I'm going to say this page. It's happening for rubber. So anyways, we talk about Fordlandia, which was this entire community with hospitals and doctors and schools and everything that was created, modern housing in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, ended up not working out so well for him. And we do a page on that. I find that fascinating. See, we can take a rabbit trail and we can dive into that. They're learning history and they're learning all the connections of it instead of just some random thing that they have to learn for this age because that's when they have to learn it. Who says? Who says?
I'm a fan of facts and figures and dates. Just saying.
Yeah, we're different people, turns out. But
I did great in history, because my degrees in history.
Okay, moving on.
This is my topic. Hello.
Okay, so we are hitting history in two different ways. I know specifically for US people, you do need a chronological overview of United States history, especially for a lot of your graduation requirements. So we're doing that. We are doing a series of 4 different mini units, and it's going to take you all the way through chronologically US history. We are also doing 4 units. One is going to be this coming year, and that's on ancient civilizations. Then we're doing the next year, one on medieval times. We're going to do 4 different units that are kind of more chronological that will zone in on those time periods. Aside from those chronological things, it's going to be dotted throughout in however we can possibly tie it in. Famous people, famous inventors, famous artists. Our transportation unit is going to talk about transportation and how it's developed in history in the lens of all of that. So we're going to be hitting it in all sorts of different different ways, but it's actually going to be meaningful to your kids, and they're going to remember it because it is connecting it to everything else that they're learning and a common theme. So hopefully that helps explain that. Okay, let's find another question. How do you navigate your ideal homeschool style compared to the reality of your homeschool? I did a post once, don't even know actually what I wrote. Maybe I should go back and read my own post and refresh my memory. But it was teaching in a style that is not your strength. And I think that's probably the problem more than anything else. Our ideal homeschool style is our expectation. Our ideal homeschool style is we look at it all and we decide that that would be really great. It doesn't actually necessarily mean that it will be great. Sometimes we think, it's like we look at somebody else. It's like, you know what, let's put this into perspective, shall we? You know those outfits that are like shorts and shirts all in one? They're like this little jumper short thing. Super cute. I see people in these on magazines with their nice little high heels. And I'm like, that right there, I could totally do that. And then I go and I do it and I'm like, no, turns out I can't. Turns out I actually have a super short body, and that just makes it look a lot shorter. Also, turns out that those people look nice and long and lanky because they're wearing high heels, which I can't wear because I'll die. So because of that, that looks good. That is a nice outlook of what I think I would want, but in reality, it doesn't fit. And I think sometimes that's our problem, is this disconnect with our vision, our expectation. This is what we want based on comparison, based on what we see, based on what we read, based on the gold at the end of the rainbow. We're looking at something that maybe is not real based on kind of, what's people put out there of this is what this style looks like. So I think part of it is making sure that we're basing it on where God wants us to go and not basing it off of some big thing like that. But lots of times we know, for example, for me, I started out as being very, traditional, open textbook, do the stuff. I like tests. I like quizzes. I like to fill in the blank. I loved that stuff. And where I am today is completely opposite. I no longer do any of that pretty much in my homeschool. And that has just taken a lot of time. I didn't expect myself to just switch over in a day. I gave myself time and grace to slowly step over to that, to change a little bit at a time, to change one subject, to change one thing, to add something that's a little more Charlotte Mason in there. Because yes, my reality is not going to match because I have reality to deal with. And so I can't just change overnight like that.
There's this comment here.
Do you want to answer
that? One of the comments is the history secular friendly. All of our curriculum, this whole company is a Christian faith based. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for our faith in our Lord Jesus Christ. So that being said, is it secular friendly? Well, I mean, there's always, there's the facts that, come from a variety of sources and accounts. And then we, at the, usually before or after we have, how does this tie in with scripture? Because for us, our authority, the way we derive our authority is from scripture. How does this come from how do we see this and how do we view this based on scripture? So secular friendly, I think it goes back to some of the comments will there be a secular version of this curriculum? I would say right now, you're in charge, but we don't feel to have a secular curriculum. It's not what we're about. Homeschooling is important. Homeschooling, incorporating the ways of the Lord through scripture is really important to us, and it's really the foundation. So secular friendly.
Lots of people adapt it. We'll put it this way. Lots of people adapt it. We do have secular people that are using our units and they adapt and they say, you know what, we can absolutely do this. But there's God in everything. So you're definitely going to want to pre-read, take, adjust as you want to, or as you see fit. It is taught from a Christian perspective. So I think that will answer that question. All right. We got a ton more. We got to Had a motor. Okay. Somebody asked about North America, middle and high being the same. And I want to address that because it isn't, but it's a little tricky because you'll notice we often do from early reader to upper elementary, we'll do the same kind of read it and top activity. But the your turn is slightly different. So where we have this one, it's more noticeable in our younger levels because you'll see a cut and paste, and then you'll see a word bank, and then you'll see a write the answer for our 3 different levels. And so you can actually see that. Whereas for middle and high, they've got a read it or a research, whereas this one is going to be writing maybe a paragraph, but this one is going to be writing a separate journal entry or a paper or something. So we more divide it or leveled it up based on that activity. So where the information might be the same, what's expected of them is different. Our World War II connection page is almost always the same in all of our connecting continent units for our middle and high. It's an extra 6 page. It's not in any of our other notebooks. And we keep that the same because the information, if they do that twice in a row, I mean, you can give different adaptations, but the information is solid and they could absolutely refresh their memory with it.
I like this, how this comment here, Elizabeth Ashley here, love how everything connects. And that's sort of like I love how Rebecca gather around is these threads of learning. You know, you have geography, we have history, we have, we're incorporating a lot of subjects and everything connects. To me, I learn history. I mean, there's a chronological to this, but how does anything connect to your children? The way I connect through history really is because what's exciting, what's connect to me, what's, like a lot of people gravitate towards the world wars. Why? It's because for boys, I'm generalizing, but because you connect with it, it's exciting, it's exciting, the strategy and the, and so you can connect, the political, like what motivated these people to do what did the generals do? What were the mistakes? And then connecting, you can connect, economics, and you connect. So that's how I kind of remember. If your kids don't connect to the information, what are they going to retain? How is it going to be useful? Connection is important.
Yeah.
A connection is also the experience. And how do they experience history? So incorporating, other than the regurgitated and reading or whatever, how do they connect? What are they doing? What are they making? I mean, like it's nothing new. It's not like, but connection is important.
Yeah. Sabrina says, you've been adding and spelling you see, am I overdoing it? Again, that's totally up to you. Spelling you see is fairly easy to add. There's a lot of things that you can add if you want to. But I personally, the reason I know it's a light in our spelling approach in doing it, 3 days a week and doing it through copywork. But I really have just seen in my own kids that, especially because we're using scripture, I think that there's a model there, and I think that it is enough personally, but you're the one who has to be comfortable with it. So there isn't a right or wrong way to do it. Bambi, you're wondering about preschool. So preschool, we are separating for next year and kindergarten. So there'll be preschool, kindergarten, but there's still a pre-reader, and the pre-reader is going to be a coloring page and one other kind of thing that ties into the unit. So basically you could do both. You could do a unit, any unit you want based on your other kids, and then you could just add in preschool or add in kindergarten, and that's in the works for coming up.
You're
going to find another question?
So weird. Look at this mouse. Look at this mouse. Like, how do you use some contraption? There's a ball on this thing.
Use your thumb.
Like, what is this?
It is because...
Give me a mouse. Like, look at you. You use your thumb and you...
Okay. Do you limit screen time? You have 30 seconds to respond. Talk fast. Go.
Okay. So screen time. We've got about 10 iPads. Sorry, 2 iPads.
9.
So we got a lot of iPads. We got them for the school. Some are Rebecca's old ones. We also have old cell phones, which act as little iPads. So
lots of computers.
We have lots of computers. Wow, it's a war. I have to... I had to do sneak attacks, sneak surprises on my kids because they're like hiding and doing little things. And I'm sorry, I get a little animated. Yes, it's like, we limit our screen times. I know there's restrictions, then we take them off because sometimes I need to use it because my phone's dead and I want to use it reading somewhere in the bathroom. I just want to read or something like that, and I need an iPad. Anyway, I forget to put the restrictions on. It's a war. Do we limit? Yes, but it's a war. Kids are brilliant. They figure out our passwords. Like, you have to, like, when you're typing your password, man, you got to be glued to these. They're all like watching, and they have a photographic memory. Anyway, it's a war. Do we limit screen time? Absolutely. We just bought a virtual reality. We didn't buy it.
Our son did.
It's awesome, by the way. Oh man, is it awesome? But I mean, we have to limit that. I find them here, and yeah, it's a war. And don't give up. Don't give up, because it's a beautiful day outside. Nothing ticks me off so much when I'm slaving outside, picking up dog poo and raking and cleaning up their toys. And I love being outside, and then all the kids are in there with their iPads. I lose it. So it's a war. Don't fight the good fight. Is that good?
That's good. Okay, how many hours a day do you homeschool? Like
12.
1.
Like actual homeschooling, or like some things like, they need to clean the hot tub. So that's sort of like homeschooling. Picking up dog poo is, sort of homeschooling.
Formal time. I sit down, I read, they do their school books and gather around. They quickly do their math. Done. 1 hour. That's it. And maybe 2 if I'm feeling really gracious and we look up a lot of YouTube videos or do any sort of hands-on stuff. But we pretty much motor through and we're like, we did school. And then they go and play. They do chores. Right now there's a store.
Oh.
What?
Well, how's the fundraising app going?
Okay. Right now there is a store that my husband set up. I thought that you were going to want to talk about this, but.
Oh, the store. Okay. What were we talking about?
Okay. So first of all, I tried this once before. Okay. I went to like this industrial shopping place and I was like, boom, sour soothers. Kids, I like filled a cart. I was like, here's the Skittles. Here's this, here's that. I filled a cart and I was like, we are going to have a sticker store. And if you are good and if you do your chores, you can earn candy. Like, that's right. We're going to pull out all the stops. We're just going to give it to you and just reward. This is going to work. I have also, by the way, tried just full on money. All the money that I've put them in like little jars full of loonies. The problem is you have to actually manage these things, because then it's like every 5 seconds, what can I do to earn Skittles? Okay, well, actually cleaning for 5 minutes doesn't count. But turns out that for Jonathan, it does. Jonathan's like, you know what? You go have Skittles. Meanwhile, I made my daughter work for 2 hours for those Skittles and she got them for 5 minutes. Okay. So this time I was like, you know what, babe, that's fine. Go ahead, do your little store. I've done it before.
Store will work. It will work. I went to the wholesale club. It's like a Costco, but not. Anyway, they sell like box of candy, like in the packages when before, those things when you go to the, okay. So I went all out. I took Rebecca's idea and I just put a turbo on it. Put on these shelves where they just can't get at it. And it's like a store. And there's like 15 products, chocolate bars, nerds, all kinds of stuff. And yeah, they're up there. It's gleaming with all the nice little, colors and stuff like that. And it's currency. Well, because you can't bring your kids to the store anymore because everybody will, say that you're the whole COVID thing. So
you'll be arrested.
You'll be arrested. But
I don't know, babe. What are they reporting? What are they're reporting you for? What? For what? Public shaming?
Well, yeah. There is shaming. There's like people like, oh, you bring your kids. I mean, you're exposing them to death, and so we don't bring our kids. Well, we bring one.
We don't bring our kids.
We don't bring our kids.
No.
So candy is the new currency, because what's the point of giving them money? Like, here's a buck to them. They can't spend it. They want to see the candy bar. So I'll show them the candy bar and candy. The problem is fairness, and the currency changes.
You are so unfair. Aaliyah works for like 5 seconds. I'm like, the girls are like, okay, our laundry room was bad. It was like 10 loads of laundry. It was like, couldn't walk. It was disgusting. I told the girls, if you work really hard, and it's an all-day job, then you can each have 2 big things from in there. That's 4 big things. Jonathan has like the other one, the middle child, just kind of flounces up. What can I do to earn Skittles? And he's like, organize the shoes. 5 minutes later, look what I got. The girls are like, we worked all day. I'm like, I don't go talk to your father.
I didn't know. I rectified it. I changed it. So
Wait. He lost his belt once, and his solution was whoever can find my belt gets a $5 bill. You know who found the belt? It was like the youngest child. So she sees a sticker store and is like, I get 5 things for finding daddy's belt.
the store is called the Store of Motivation.
The store of unfairness. The store of
it's
life
capitalism
is
at its best. It's I want something done, and before you know
what we need to do is we need to teach the kids that the more you earn, the less you get because of taxes. Boom. We could go deep. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Anyway, store is a good idea. It requires a lot of maintenance because not the store itself, but like what I want to do for live wires, blah blah blah. It's like
come and inspect
but
it.
They come. The thing is, they're coming to you wanting jobs. They want jobs. And I'm like, well, I'll give it to them. Sometimes I run out of jobs, and like, okay, well, that looks hard. Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Math is coming. I actually have a meeting on that this afternoon. We are hoping to release our first one September. It's probably going to be a delayed schedule. Don't pin me to anything. No, I know the one I'm doing next. This one right here. Don't touch it. It's coming, guys. Okay. How has being an RCMP family influenced your homeschool? I'm a new RCMP wife, and heading into this lifestyle helped validate our choice to homeschool as well as wanting to keep Christ at the center. I specifically want to bring this one up because, yes, we are an RCMP family. But before I let my husband talk for 8 hours.
Take over.
Because he rambles. I'm just going to pinch him. Okay. I want to mention, because some of you may not know, RCMP is Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Okay. Think Mountie on that show. There's a few. One calls the Heart. Okay. But they don't actually wear that. They wear a normal police uniform. But anyways, it is federal policing here in Canada. Okay. How has being an RCMP family influenced or affected our homeschool? I get to talk first. First off is the scheduling. When you have somebody who's working on shift work, the fact that when daddy's off, then we can take time off. The fact that he can be involved in our homeschool because of his shift work is absolutely huge. So we actually schedule our homeschool around his days off. It's sometimes frustrating because for me, I like to get into a schedule or routine. So I'm like, okay, this is our school hours. And then all of a sudden daddy's off and he's like, let's go out. I mean, not right now, but normally let's go to Grand Prairie. Let's do a shopping day. Why don't we have a picnic? And I'm like, that doesn't work with my plans. So sometimes it's a little frustrating, but it's a gift. And so it's definitely, it just has an impact in our homeschool is shift work. Jonathan, do you have one?
Gift.
No, I didn't say you are a gift. Okay. Cycle back. Okay. How do you think RCMP life has impacted?
Oh, for me, shift work sucks. I mean, it's a blessing, but it's, I gotta admit, I mean, you're moody, kids come home, they want to show you a bunch of things, and I'm tired. I just want to veg out. And, I need to exercise. My body's all over the place, in terms of, so it's hard to stay motivated. And, I'm sorry, I lost my train. What's the question?
RCMP. How it's affected.
How has it affected family?
Oh, I'll tell you. Okay. Have you guys ever seen Sound of Music? And you've seen like the dad who's like blowing the whistles and is like, gather children. And they gather.
I am a drill sergeant.
He is a drill sergeant. We live in a virtual depot.
Training scar. I remember learning this training scars. If you're trained, if you're stressed, if you resort back to what you've been trained to. And I was trained in the RCMP, and so drill sergeant. It works, but I find that they'll do the job because you're like rah. But there's no consistency. It's like, oh, dad won't do it because he's mad. But if you're not there, they just, meh. So it's the wrong motivation to do it when you're strict. So you got to get them to, it's fine for the job, but I find that they don't continue on with it. You have to get them motivated another way. Like, explain to them, if you don't do this, then everything kind of falls apart. So do you understand that? Okay, yeah, do that. So they don't necessarily do it. They just become robots. They're like, oh, okay, I will do what you say because you are mad. But my advice for the you RC, what's some general advice? Through our 14 years being in the RCMP, flexible. Be flexible. Have a laugh. Have lots of naps. Naps are awesome.
Make your husband do school with your children.
Yes. Yes.
Win, win, win. Okay. Does your curriculum teach writing, not handwriting, but writing papers? Yes. And yes, both. Boom. It teaches for high school essays, essay writing, different types of essays.
Why? In the computer age where you're typing, why do you need to handwrite? Devil's advocate.
Okay. Yeah, it does all of that stuff, especially if you start at the kind of the beginning ones. It gets a lot more into writing an essay, writing a thesis statement, writing your outline, all of that stuff. So yeah, for sure.
You guys, the antithesis.
No, I'm not. Shh.
You still need to handwrite. I know my job, you handwrite a lot. So signatures, everything. My husband works shifts 50.
Jessica asked about more than words. Yeah, so there's 2 out right now. The third one is written, has been for quite some time, and I don't have a release date on that, but that would be a great question for Master Books. They are the publisher of More Than Words. Okay. All right. There's so many questions that how long it takes. Okay, for a 4th and 7th grader, I would say probably more like 2 hours. My middle schooler does take a little bit longer. There's more research, there's more writing. So Gather Around Homeschool, if that's specifically what you're talking about, takes about 2 hours, I would say, to do, and then you're going to add your math on top of that. Now, if you're doing other things, if you have them reading novels, if you have them, it could be your morning, but my vision of it is that it doesn't need to take longer than that. You guys, when you send your kids to school and you're like, we need to have school be the same hours as what's happening in public school. No, you don't, because let me tell you what's happening in public school. This little bit of teaching, this little bit of trying to manage a classroom, this little bit of independent, go work on your homework time, and then a lot of breaks, a lot of discussion, it's not all actual teaching time. Our school can absolutely take a morning. Has anyone noticed now that public school is out that one of the things that they're saying is like, hey, if you can just do basically we're looking for a couple hours a day. The expectation is down here. So then why is school taking 6 to 8 hours if we're saying that really it's only 2 hours that is really actually mandatory?
Public school is incredibly inefficient. You just look at I remember I lived about 20-minute drive from my school when I was in junior high. Okay, 20 minutes. In elementary school, it was like a 10. But that 20-minute drive, we stop, go around the routes, it took me 2 hours to get to school. Almost 2 hours. Then you walk there. Then you have a bunch of bags. And then it's getting everybody. It's just inefficient. There's inefficiency, in regards to getting everybody to do everything at the same time. I mean, teachers are I have all the respect for teachers. How you get 30-something kids to do the same thing on time with all the behavioral issues, with all the bored kids, hats off to you. But there's still the variable of inefficiencies. Public school is incredibly inefficient. You can get all our work done in homeschooling. They can wake up on their pajamas, do the work in their pajamas, and do more rather than waiting on a bus. But sometimes that's just one situation. But
we're slightly biased, guys. We're slightly biased. Okay.
I'm just using it from my personal experience. For me, high school. There's sometimes where you're in high school, you have these free blocks, which were good. You're like, you have a free block. Oh, I've got but then after a while, I'm like, why am I even here? There's some days I had 1 or 2 classes, and the classes that I wanted, to fill that, I couldn't get into them because they didn't offer as much. Just made me so angry because I started driving to school, right? And I'm driving to school. Why am I wasting gas? I don't even have a job yet. I'm putting gas in. It was yeah.
Yeah.
Inefficient.
Yeah, it is.
That's just
and then you come home and you spend all your evening doing homework and all your weekends doing homework. And it's like, again, really, like right now, what I'm seeing happen with a lot of parents that now have their kids in public school and are home. And now they're seeing, okay, well, there's an expectation to do stuff, but also like you're working with your teachers. Now there's more homework. It's this whole thing of imposition. That's one of the reasons that a lot of people have asked me about co-ops. And I did a co-op once, and it wasn't a good fit for me. And it's not, I'm not saying that co-ops are bad at all. I specifically, I do a co-op now with a group of friends where we get to dictate and choose what we do. I think doing gather round together or something would be so much fun. But the one I was a part of, it was kind of drop your kids off, they do something, and then you're assigned homework and projects and things you have to do. And I just hated it. I hated it because I hate someone dictating to me what this needs to look like. I want to control it. I want to be the one who's deciding.
It needs to look like
this is why
Rebecca.
I homeschool.
It needs
because I have
to
control
look
issues.
like this,
okay?
Rebecca.
No one's telling me what it's going to look like.
You chain you up. You need to look at this and see it as I see it.
No, I'm stubborn. So is my husband, so I'm in good company.
I'm not stubborn.
How do you go about having kids research? Computer, books, encyclopedia, or a mixture of all? True story, all computer. Why? Because I've got lots of books on my shelf, but I don't want to go dig through those.
We have a room full of books. Well,
yeah, so I pull them out as like, those are our books that we have for read alouds or for novels, or I sign books for my kids to read. Then we go to the library. But when it comes to researching something, I don't have an encyclopedia set. So I have some books that are more resource books on like human body that they could use. But when it comes to this random person in history, online. So I recommend getting some really good filters. I recommend having your computer in an open place so that your kids are researching with you, or you can look stuff up yourself. Specifically, I want to address in human body, one of the things that we did, and human body, I wouldn't recommend that your kids do as much research, because as soon as you type in anything having to do with human body, there's a lot. So actually, we ended up paying someone to do custom illustrations for almost every single picture in that book. And the reason is that we wanted it to be the way that we wanted it. We wanted it to be tasteful. We wanted it to also be real. And we didn't want you guys having to go and search for stuff. So specifically for that one, that's one of the ways that we targeted it. But for my middle schooler right now, he does his research. My upper elementary does her research. We just all do it in open places and have good discussion and good filters. And yeah.
Your thing doesn't work.
It does. You use your thumb.
Oh, this thumb thing. I just don't understand.
Okay, wait, you have to turn this. Okay. All right. So let's do a couple more and then we'll close it off. Okay. Actually, we have a kindergarten question. And we had before, somebody asked, is it too young to start with my kids when they're like 3, 4? My son starts kindergarten this fall. Do I need an umbrella school? If not, what do I do?
What's an umbrella school?
It's US. It's basically like what we have here with being underneath a school. It's going to depend on your state. That you're going to want to look up. If you look up your state or your province, but I'm assuming you're in the US, if you look up your state and homeschool requirements, there's a lot of great websites, and it will basically tell you what you have to do. Most states, you're not required to be under an umbrella school. The benefit is that there's often funding. The downside is that you can't use any Christian curriculum, and you are limited on what you can do with it. So a lot of people don't, and some people do. And if for a lot of people, it's not even an option for them. So look into your options, first of all, for your state. For the other person that was asking, do you start your kids when they are, 3, 4? Is that too young? You're going to have people who are going to absolutely bash you and say, yes, don't you dare start until they're like 6 or 7. That's the Charlotte Mason way. And you don't push your kids and blah, blah, blah. Of course, I agree. Don't push your kids, but follow your kids. Don't follow some sort of arbitrary guideline or what one person said. Follow your children. If I have a 2 or 3-year-old that is desperate to do school with their older siblings, or I have a child that just wants to, then follow them. Say, okay, even now with my 6-year-old who's really behind, she loves school. So we do school until she's bored of it. And then I say, okay, go play. I don't force her. I don't push her. But if she wants to do it, I'm not going to hold her back from it. So I disagree with the people that think it's basically wrong to do school with young children. Do as much as you want, but make it fun, make it engaging, and follow them.
You can have them push their own limits.
Yeah.
You've done your job. I mean, it's different, like being a drill sergeant and like, dude, I want all of you, which is good in some respects. What are you doing?
I'm just looking at comments. Go ahead.
But if you can have them and encourage them, and that's an encouraging as a can be in very ways, encourage them to keep testing their own limits, then I think I think you've got something going really well there. To have that, and they've developed that little inner voice of just like, yeah, you can do more, you can do more. Push your limits, push it.
Yeah. And that was me. That's where, I mean, if you go listen to the podcast or just even look at all the different things that I shared, part of it was that my parents wanted to allow me to go at my own pace. And I was so bored with being stuck in, this is what you have to learn, this is how you have to learn it, and this is all you can do. I wanted to I would come home and do all my books. I would work through my books in a matter of months. I wanted to go at my own pace, and my parents allowed me to. So that's one of the benefits of homeschooling.
I just want to go back to the traditional way of looking at research. Like, I was a history major, and doing online is great. I think that speaks to the medium in which we communicate. But there is something to be said to, when picking up a book, but there's ebooks now. It's important to get a variety of research, especially now when there's lots of misinformation and you have so much readily access information. There's a lot of stuff like this is wrong. And so how do you know from the truth and what is not the truth? Well, again, going back to scripture, but also if you can get a variety of different understandings, and maybe you can cumulate, like, okay, the balance of probabilities is that this is reliable. Getting your kids to know what sources are. Is this a first-hand account, second-hand account? Where not being so much focused on the information of the fact, but looking at the site of the sources. How is this sourced? Where is it sourced? How does your kid, can you read a medical journal? I mean, surprisingly, I've been reading a lot of medical journals concerning health and nutrition, and where do they come from? What school do they come from? Getting kids to learn sources. Where does their sources come from? How reliable those sources, how consistent those sources are, is I mean, yeah, it's all online, but
and we zone in on that on South America.
Yeah.
We start to talk about that. That's something that is coming up in our next unit. So stay tuned for that, because that is really important that our kids learn that, and identifying biases and identifying. I mean, there's a lot there.
Bias is a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, where does it come from? Well, who's producing this? Yeah, the history that, especially history. I mean, like, right now people are rewriting history, some good, some bad. I mean, there's sometimes where you have to do a lot of do your homework, do your research. That there's something really said to me that, well, I did my research. I looked at several sources, several different interpretations of this fact. Instead of just stating fact, what are your sources? What authority do you base that on? What authority? A lot of Christians base their authority on scripture. A lot of people base their authority on, like, what news they got them from. Well, that news is supported by what? Well, it's really important for kids to learn that instead of taking it at face value. What else we got?
All right, we're gonna do just a couple more because I really have to go to the bathroom.
And I have to go as well.
True story. Okay. How does this work with kids with executive function issues like poor time management and poor focus?
What's executive functions? What's that?
That's we'll talk after. Okay, so I recommend. I don't know. I think a lot of people don't know this, but before I started Gather Round, I was doing courses. And one of the courses that I did was time management for kids. And I think that is probably the most beneficial thing that I have ever created as far as a resource. It's super affordable. You can do it as a whole family. I recommend you do it as a whole family, so you can pay for it once, and you're going to get access to it. It's videos, so the kids are going to see me talking. It's really short video clips, and then it's a PDF download, and it's going to have them basically segment their time, chunk their time out. They're going to learn about prioritizing their time. They're going to learn how to take ownership of their time. And it was my way of especially as seeing my kids grow older, that when I tell them what to do, I'm always fighting them. But when they start to take ownership of their time, I saw a shift happen. And so I created this course specifically for that. It will change your homeschool.
So is executive functions, is that like, well,
it's when people, okay. So I recommend.
I don't know what it is. Forgive me for my ignorance.
Okay. Go and look it up. Here you go. There's your phone. Okay, I'm just gonna do one more question. If anyone is on here that knows where to access my courses, if you could post that, it's rebeccascourses.thinkific.com, I'm pretty sure. Otherwise, I will post that afterwards. And moving your child up, that's the other question we have. How do you know when to level your child up? there's free samples. If you buy a unit, you're going to get access to all of the different levels if you get it digitally. So look at the different levels. If you feel like your child is not being challenged enough, if they don't want to trace and they want to write, if they are in the writing stage and you think they're more than just fill in the blank, then bump them. And you can bump them at any point in the middle of the year. It doesn't matter. Bump your kids, go with where they're at, go with their ability, go with what is enough of a challenge to keep them interested, but not too much of a challenge where they are overwhelmed. For me, I always have my kids generally working a little bit lower than what they can do. Why? Because it builds confidence, because I can have them do greatness with that lesser expectation. Instead of saying, okay, I want you to write a paragraph, if that's overwhelming and daunting, can you? Yes, you can write a paragraph for a middle school level. But if you are struggling with writing and if that's daunting to you, then that paragraph is probably not going to be very good. I would rather put you in upper elementary where you're going to be doing 2 sentences. And that is, I can expect that you're going to do that really well. And we're going to really work on this and you're not going to be overwhelmed, and we can work on your structure and all of that, then push you to challenge you. Does that make sense? So I would base it on your kids. I would base it on their ability, and I would base it on let them kind of lead and guide that a little bit.
I now know what they are. That's actually quite fascinating.
Okay, app update. We have not. Okay, so basically what we're doing, and I'll talk about this, we want to create an app for Gather Around Homeschool, and we want to make it free. It's not free. It's $10,000 a year. So we are trying to fund it. And the reason is that if we get it funded, then we can offer it for free to everyone else. We need 1,000 people to purchase. It's $12. It's almost like a Kickstarter kind of campaign. It's a crowdfunding kind of thing. So what we're doing, if you can donate towards this, $12, we get 1,000 people, then we will be able to start the creation. It takes 4 to 6 weeks, and we can offer it for free. We have not had, we did really well. We got 50% of it funded, and then we are maybe getting like 1 a week at this point. So wow, it's not, the whole COVID yeah, thing, right? I know. So the app update is not really changed from where we were at, 50%. Oh, so, so where it stands is partly, I think a lot of people don't know about it. So let me explain what the app is and the benefits of it. Right now in the group, some people are frustrated because they feel like there's so much discussion about every little thing. It's constantly bumping it. You might be in this unit, but you're seeing all of this about this unit. You might be annoyed with how much you're seeing printer things come up and people asking questions about what kind of printer they should get, or, all of those kind of things. If we have an app, we can create separate groups, and you join the groups that you're interested in or that apply to you. So we would have a group for North American birds. We would have a group for oceans. We would have a group for printing issues or for printing suggestions or whatever, where you could join and you could chime in on that. And then you could leave if you didn't want to be a part of it. So we can separate it. You're going to get notifications on your phone when I go live. You're going to get a notification. I can push out a notification when we publish something. Hey, new update, new podcast episode. I can control that because with algorithms, a lot of times you miss stuff. So, hey, we had a sale. Some people were really upset that they missed that sale because they didn't know about it. Well, if we have an app, I can control that. You're going to get a little pop-up right on your phone as long as your notifications are on. So it's going to help you not see everything. It's going to mean that you can join a group specifically about resources for oceans. We're doing oceans, and join a community of people who are all doing oceans with you so that it's not so scattered. So it's going to be special. I think it's going to be unique. We can do some things we can offer through the app as well. So that's what it is. It's $12. We need 1,000 people. We have about 500. So if you are interested in supporting that, you can go to gatheraroundhomeschool.com. It's right on the homepage. If you scroll down, you'll see it, app supporter. And then we are offering, eventually, we are working on creating, we don't have enough submissions, so it's not going to be coming soon. But once we have enough submissions, we want to create a book on conditions, diseases, different situations, challenges that are related to human body. And it's going to go alongside with our human body unit and just have stories from real kids' lives and pictures to help raise awareness, empathy, and have our kids have a better understanding. So you don't have those awkward conversations with your kids when, they're pointing and, it's to open that understanding and awareness and empathy in our children. So when we finish that, you will get that for free for being a supporter. So
yeah. So it's a one-time fee of $12?
It's a one-time fee of $12. And once we have 1,000 people that do it, so we need 500 more, then that's it. We're going to do it. That's so for the year.
Is it $10,000 to get it started?
No, that's for the year.
Oh, it's so it's
That's a full year. So it's a monthly charge, but basically we decided let's just fund for the year and be done. And then we will look at next year when we get to it. So so that way we can offer it free for everybody. And you're going to get something out of that as well. That human body add-on book is going to be worth more than $12. So you are going to get a beautiful resource out of it when it is finished. And so it'll be kind of worth.
It's just one time. Well, one.
Yeah, well, no, but they are not, it's not an automatic thing. It's a one time. If you pay, you pay. You're not subscribing, you're not doing anything. You just are donating that amount to it. Okay. And then if we next year need to do crowdfunding again, then we'll do crowdfunding again.
Is it Canadian or US? This is one question.
It's US.
It's US.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 10,000 US, I guess. So I think an app is definitely way to go, because I know sometimes people have difficulties with Facebook and whatnot. So
yeah,
a hard copy. Oh, sorry, I'm just reading comments.
It will be digital. It'll be a digital because the cost of shipping and stuff like that would probably make it more like $50 at the end. So yeah, it'll be digital, but it's going to be a beautiful, very special book. So anyways, okay, we're going to wrap this up because I have a math meeting and you all want me to have that math meeting so that we can
always in meetings,
talk
always
about math.
My wife,
he's missing me, guys. I'm working at Human Body. I just come down here the second I wake up. I come down here and I don't come up until very late at night. I don't cook meals anymore.
I love distracting. There's nothing more satisfying than distracting your wife.
You smell like vinegar.
Because I was cleaning the hot tub.
I know, but that's not going to work for me. You need to go and...
I'm cleaning the hot tub.
Then you do that. You go do that.
Smell like vinegar?
You smell like vinegar. It's true.
Love me.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys. This replay will be posted.
Sonia.
This will be posted, so go ahead and watch the replay if you missed it. It's super random. Go check out the podcast episode. You guys can check out that time management course. Really think that it is worth it. And also the app supporter were the main things we talked about today. If you're new to Gather Round, don't forget about those free samples and share this video, and then come and join our group, which is Gather Round Homeschool Community, and post that you shared for an opportunity to win a free unit. So
free unit? What are we doing?
All right. We'll talk to you guys later. Have an awesome day. See ya.